Sana remained unconscious.
Sana.
Chris called Sana's name while shaking her body. Bibi licked Sana's face gently. Twisting her body, Sana covered her cheek, which was being licked by Bibi with her arm.
Huh? Chris?
Waking up, Sana squinted her eyes against the brightness and looked at Chris. After staring at Chris for a moment, she suddenly sat up. Sana, who was looking around nervously, fixed her gaze on a certain point. At that point, there was a girl lying on the floor. The hood she was wearing had come off, revealing her face. It was a familiar face. Yuri Sakurai, who was Chris and Sana's classmate in elementary school. They haven't seen her since they graduated because she went to a private junior high school. She transferred schools in the 3rd grade of elementary school, and she was in the same class with Chris and Sana for 2 years after that. That said, Chris doesn't really remember talking much with her. She was a shy girl who wore glasses. Now she doesn't wear glasses, but there's no doubt about it. As Chris wondered why Yuri was here, a sudden shout echoed.
What are you doing here?
The flashlight illuminated Chris and Sana as they turned around. At the entrance of the warehouse, Mr. Fukuda and the vice principal were standing. The two of them pointed their lights as if to intimidate, and upon entering, they were speechless at the sight before them. Inside the warehouse, candles were lit in various places, and the sweet scent and smoke from incense burned in several spots enveloped the room. On the floor, there is a mysterious pattern drawn large with lime. And sitting in the middle of it, Chris, Sana, and Bibi look up at the two teachers. By the wall, a girl wrapped in a white garment has lost consciousness. Beyond the broken door, there was the figure of Miss Tagawa, face down on the ground. The two teachers exchanged glances between Chris, Sana, Yuri and Miss Tagawa as if drawing a triangle, before hurriedly rushing to the two who had collapsed. Fortunately, both of them had just lost consciousness and quickly regained awareness. Everyone, including Sana, had no serious injuries, leading to the decision that there was no need to call an ambulance. After that, Chris and the others were called to the staff room, and their parents were summoned as well. Both Chris's mother and Sana's mother were just happy that Sana was safe. Sana's mother, crying, hugged her tightly, saying that she was just about to file a missing person report with the police. Chris's mother, surprised at why Chris was at school, scolded him for leaving the house without permission at this hour. Then, the three students each underwent questioning by their teachers. Before they knew it, the principal had also arrived. Chris spoke about the facts as they were. Hearing that Sana was missing, he thought she might be at school and came here. Following Bibi as she tracked Sana's scent, he arrived at the warehouse. Inside the warehouse, a mysterious ritual was being conducted by 3 individuals, including Yuri. From there, something devil-like was summoned. Before he knew it, the devil had broken through the door and disappeared somewhere. Chris thought no one would believe him about defeating the devil with Miracorn, so he kept quiet. However, Miss Tagawa had also witnessed the devil. For that reason, Chris naturally spoke as if he could be believed. However, Chris's testimony about seeing the devil was completely disregarded. Even Miss Tagawa, who was supposed to be a witness, said she had no recollection of seeing such a thing. Rather, it was that there were no memories after finding Chris behind the warehouse. As for Yuri, she even started saying that she didn't understand why she was wearing a white outfit in this old warehouse at the school in the first place. Even if Chris insisted that there were 2 other companions in the ritual, Yuri said that she couldn't remember that either.
That can't be true. Sana must have seen those 2 as well.
Chris thought so, but Sana said she remembered changing into her uniform and leaving the school, but she had no memory after that. What on earth is going on? Chris held his head in his hands. He was on the verge of falling into a paranoid suspicion that everyone here was trying to deceive him. A debate was unfolding among parents and faculty about whether or not to call the police. And the principal concluded that they would not report it to the police. As for the school's damage, it was just the door of the storage room, and since the storage itself was going to be removed eventually, it wasn't significant enough to file a damage report. Regarding Yuri's trespassing, the principal said there was no need to report it to the police, since she was a former classmate of Chris and Sana from elementary school. On the other hand, Sana's mother insisted that they should call the police and track down the perpetrator regarding her daughter's confinement. However, the victim herself has no memory of being attacked and has no noticeable injuries. As a result, the principal persuaded her that even if they reported it, the police would not take it seriously. If an incident occurs at school where children are involved, it is only natural for parents to feel compelled to find out who the culprit is. However, the teachers were suspicious that the students might have been playing with candles and incense in the storage room, pretending to summon demons. According to the principal, such activities are common in schools everywhere. The principal's words, saying that students often lie about not remembering things out of fear of being scolded, reached Chris's ears. It seems that he believes that the very fact Sana was confined is a fabrication. But Chris wondered how they would explain the fact that the door was destroyed and that even Miss Tagawa had no memory of it. However, he remained silent without saying anything. It seemed that the principal and vice principal had been suspicious of Chris from the very beginning. In other words, they seem to think that he is an accomplice who destroyed the warehouse door, or possibly even the ringleader. Of course, Chris has an alibi that he was at home until after 8 o'clock. However, if it's said that he was waiting at home until he instructed Sana and Yuri and everything was prepared, then that's that. To that extent, Chris was regarded as a troublemaker among the teachers. The reason is that he has been called to the staff room for 2 consecutive days, yesterday and today. And as for today's incident, although Chris was the victim who had nearly been subjected to unprovoked violence, it seemed he was being misunderstood as the aggressor who fought with the upperclassmen and injured them. When the vice principal looked at Chris with a disdainful gaze, Chris realized the truth from the thought that came to him. So, he thought it would be pointless to argue about anything. If he said anything, it would only make him an even clearer target.
Anyway, it's getting late, so let's call it a day and go home. We will address it in the staff meeting and raise awareness during the all-school assembly. If we learn anything further, we'll report it,"
said the principal and bowed his head. In the end, Chris left the school feeling unsettled, without any support from Miss Tagawa. Chris's mother didn't believe his story, but she didn't think that Chris had participated in the demon summoning ritual. However, she seems to be a bit suspicious about the fact that Sana was attacked and kidnapped. As proof of that, on the way home in the car she even said, "I wonder if Sakurai-san put her up to it." Yuri's father is a city council member. For that reason, the teachers also didn't want to make a big deal out of this matter, which was the mother's inference. By the time they got home, it was already past 11 p.m.
I'm glad tomorrow is a day off.
Looking at the clock, Chris was filled with both disappointment and relief.